Thanks for making a date with us once again. Now, government is expected to extend its program with the IMF. This is what Joy Business is picking up from persons close to the IMF and government. The program should be ending in April 2018, but it now looks like it may go beyond that date. George Jaffe has more.
The likely extension, sources say, has been influenced by the previous administration's inability to achieve the deficit target and implement key structural reform measures under the program. Joy Business understands the current state of the program requires the IMF to recalibrate the entire program targets again to ensure some sort of consistency with the new administration's economic priorities. Sources say even though government wants to conclude the program as scheduled, the IMF is now insisting the program should be extended. The fund is even threatening not to go to the board for approval for fourth review cash if government does not agree to a program extension. It argues looking at all the measures that needs to be implemented, it might not be possible to complete the program as scheduled. There are fears as government pushes ahead and implement all these measures, it could affect the economy. A development that could force managers to extend the program. Another development that would influence government's move is the signal it will send to investors if it goes ahead to end the program in April 2018. This is because some investors have argued being under the program ensures some sort of fiscal prudence. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta at a recent press briefing insisted that government is committed to ending the program in April 2018 despite the expected cost.
All right, in other news tonight, the Institute for Energy Security, IES, says fuel prices are expected to remain fairly stable in the review of April 2017 second pricing window. Now, the energy think tank says prices of fuel in the second pricing window for the month of April 2017 recorded some form of stability at the pump in reference to petrol and diesel. The stabilization in prices was as a result of stiff competition for market share among the various oil marketing companies. Let's go on to the phone line, speak with Principal Researcher of the IES, Richmond Roxon. Thanks for your time tonight. So, stiff competition making prices stable. How so? Tell us more.
Good evening to your viewers and good evening to you as well. As you know, that's the main reason why the deregulation policy was introduced, aside the benefits that government was going to get for the ordinary consumer when prices are down, when all the indicators show that they should go down. Indicators show that the prices are supposed to go up because of fair pricing. The AOMCs will also benefit. When you look at the indicators for this pricing window, you realize that the CD appreciated, although marginally. It's insignificant to affect any change when it comes to pricing. When you also look at finished products, that's for Platts, for gasoline and gas oil, the change in price was virtually between 0.5 and 1%. When you also look at the crude oil price, too, it was relatively stable on the world market. Putting all these things together, we're expecting the price on the local market will remain the same. But as you rightly mentioned earlier, the competition for market share is what will perhaps drive prices down just a bit in this very window.
Okay, just a bit of a clarity. Are we looking at the review for the month of May, the second pricing window? And what will be your projection going forward?
No, we are looking at the review for the first pricing window in May. You know, every pricing window starts from the 1st of the month to the 15th. And the second begins from the 16th of the month to the end of the month. But when you look at our statement, what we do is that we reviewed the last window in April. That's the second pricing window in April. And exactly what we are expecting to happen in the first pricing window of May as well.
Okay, and so you've talked about the fact that crude oil is stable. How much of an impact has the city had on this?
It has a very significant impact. You know that at the point where the city was depreciating at a very fast rate, prices began to rise. If you remember at the point in this very year, a liter of petrol for about 4 cedis, 50 pesos. As we speak, the average price about 3 cedis, 99 pesos on the market. And significantly, it is the cedi stability that has contributed to the price dropping by 50 pesos. Somebody might say 50 pesos is insignificant, but when you look at it from a percentage term, it's really, really, really significant. So the cedi plays a very crucial role, and the stabilization of the cedi by the central bank has played a role in what we are experiencing at the pricing level now.
So things are looking pretty good right now. Do we expect a further drop going into the future?
The further drop will depend on how stable the cedi will be and the market forces on the world market. As we know that U.S. and North Korea are in some form of Cold War, and we can see clearly that they are doing that just to drive prices of crude upwards. Already we know that OPEC has entered into a freeze or a cap of production aimed at stimulating price on the world market. The U.S. production is going up. We know that it's going to mitigate the factors that OPEC are expecting. Then that means crude oil production will be high and prices will be low. But if they continue how they're going and prices, OPEC gets the result that they want because they've stimulated production, at the end of the day, price will rise, and price will also rise in the U.S., which will mean that prices eventually will go up. But from what we are seeing now, if production in U.S., that's U.S. shale production, keeps going up, that is, if supply keeps going up, at the end of the day, we expect that prices will stabilize. And once our dollar is strong enough, price will be down on the low.
All right, Richmond Roxon, Principal Researcher at the IES, thanks very much for your time. We remain in this space, albeit on a different topic, because oil marketing companies have given government a 48-hour ultimatum to stop activities of illegal fuel operators or risk their wrath. Now, according to the companies, the threat has been influenced by the inability of the National Petroleum Authority to act on their concerns. They maintain that after almost a year after engaging the authority, it has still failed to stop firms that get tax reliefs for exporting fuel to neighboring countries and later end up selling it on the local market at a cheaper price. The development, they say, could lead to the closure of some oil companies and bring about more layoffs in the industry by the end of this month. Kwekwa Jumanjia is coordinator of the Association of Oil Marketing Companies.
We want government to solve the problem. When it solves the problem, it helps all of us. Government will not lose revenue, our business will be intact, we're not going to lay people off, and that's what we expect. So 48 hours we are given, it's ultimatum we are given. And if 48 hours, we know between now and the 48 hours, there will be a lot of talk, discussion. Petrol is sold in such a way that it's not like somebody is coming to buy 1 liter, then you switch your system on. No, this is supposed to be running. So if the bottom line is you are not getting the volume, how do you meet your cost? You cannot make it. Let alone paying you employees.
Could we see some service stations? I mean, some have said that they've had to virtually close some service stations because of what is happening. Closure is also something that has affected you badly.
Badly. If you go to the north, you see a lot of stations which are dry. I personally travel to Western region and some other places, water region as well. You see them sleeping. The poor attendants were sleeping. In fact, if you happen to be at the station trying to buy fuel, it's like a miracle. Why should it be like that? Meanwhile, in this country, nobody has complained of shortage of fuel. So where's the fuel going? Where is it coming from? That's where we're coming from. They keep on assuring. They have been doing that. And the chief executive, Hassan Tabore, has met me. We've met several times. And all is assuring. We're doing this. Last time they were at the ports. But assurance does not give you solution to your problem. That's where we are coming from. We can't continue to bid time on this. We can't. So we need a bigger ask, like the government coming forcibly on those perpetrators. Then obviously we can get somewhere.
All right, let's speak with the Managing Director of Engine Petroleum, Henri Akuaba. Thanks for being with us tonight. 48-hour ultimatum should sound pretty bad, the situation. How badly are you affected by the situation?
Hello.
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 Yes, if you can hear me, I was asking how badly the situation is affecting your operations.
Well, the situation is as bad as stated by the industry coordinator during the press conference. Day in, day out, we are losing sales. When you lose sales, it affects virtually everything. Currently, we are even considering laying off some workers because at the rate that we are selling, I'm not sure if we'll be able to cover all our overhead at the end of the month. So it is that bad.
Okay, and we are not just talking about the impact on your operations as OMCs, but the revenue that is being lost by government, isn't it?
It is indeed. I mean, and I'm sure you've heard the numbers already. It's so huge and so alarming that I think every single Ghanaian must be concerned about this development.
And what are you asking of government? What do you want them to do specifically?
Well, we have stated the problem which the government is very much aware of. What we need to do now, I mean, is to put in measures, okay, that will stop this menace. It is not just about putting taxes on export products, for example, but I mean getting down to the very origin of this menace. And everybody, all the stakeholders involved, know what this is about.
And just for the people who are curious, how do these people carry out the operations?
Well, I mean, currently there are about 2 or 3 ways they've been going about it. First is to load products as export to be sent to the neighboring landlord countries. Now, interestingly, I mean, last year alone, we saw exports going up by about 400%. So you'd wonder, you would ask yourself, I mean, what is happening in these neighboring countries such that there's a sudden demand for petroleum products? So first products that are marked or loaded as exports indeed must cross our borders and not remain in the country. The second one is also vessels that dock at the port and other places that have been identified, okay, whereby tankers go over there and these products are discharged into the tankers under the supervision of some security operatives. Okay, I mean, all these need to be checked. Of course, I mean, once they're able to get the products onto the market, then you find all sorts of ways to get them onto the market. And one of them is, selling them in gallons by the roadside. And I mean, for a civilized country like Ghana, you wonder why this should be allowed to happen. I mean, in this era. Okay, then some of them go to the extent of providing the small-scale miners with the polytanks and those storage devices. I mean, then these products are discharged into them at the mining site for their use. Then you also, I mean, some of the OMCs are not left out of this because they also patronize. I mean, we are in an era of deregulation where everybody wants to put it, call it cheap prices or low prices out there. And these people are also enticed with some of these offers, and they also patronize. So, I mean, when you look at the canker that is really eating so deep into the industry.
Okay, so now you're giving government 2 days. What do you want to see in 2 days, really?
Okay, so as I speak with you now, I mean, day in, day out, these products are getting onto the market, and we have shown them the sources. So I'm sure if the government is paying heed to our call, to our plea, to our request, I'm sure by tomorrow they are going to move in. And then immediately we'll see the activities beginning to go down.
All right, thanks very much. That was Henri Akuaba. He is with Engine. We want to move on to another big story tonight. The president's announcement that government is seeking a review of the terms of the Millennium Challenge Corporation has not gone down well with some staff or the staff of the Electricity Company of Ghana. The Public Utility Workers Union of Ghana, PUL, which represents the interests of the workers, is not impressed. General Secretary Michael Edumata Nyantechi, who has been leading the ECG workers' opposition to the concession agreement, questioned why there was no dialogue with them before government went ahead to renegotiate the deal.
And we are very much disappointed in the sense that the president has indicated during the State of the Nation address, and this was re-echoed by the Minister of Finance when he presented the budget to Parliament, that there will be a dialogue on this issue between Labour, MIDA and ECG before any firm position is announced. But here we are hearing this kind of statements when we haven't had any such dialogue. So is it that the president, what he said about the dialogue, he didn't mean it, or he's just taking workers for granted? We think that it is important that all stakeholders sit around and discuss, and then we come to certain consensus. We are not saying that as workers, without us, government cannot take decision. No, but what we are saying is that we must be involved, and there are key issues that we need to discuss before we come to certain conclusions concerning this compact.
Meanwhile, energy think tank Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP, is warning the ECG might be negatively affected if government delays with the implementation of the Millennium Challenge Corporation's compact program. ACEP, however, wants the government to meet with the ECG workers to resolve outstanding pertinent issues over the agreement.
The consultation needed to go just beyond those at the helm of affairs to the very bottom where ordinary workers are concerned. We didn't see that happen extensively, and that was why we kept saying that whilst those of us on the technical side had position, those also within the company also had their own position, and we needed to listen to them. So we saw the political ball being played where the ruling party now said that they were going to look at the concerns of the ECG workers when they come to power and see how they can negotiate the arrangement which was put in place by the previous government. And now we're hearing that government says that 51% Ghanaian stake is what they have agreed with the MCC on, and also there wouldn't be any layoff. The original arrangement was that they will give a 5-year moratorium, after which the company can decide to lay off staff. That is being changed now to be no layoff. And I don't think that gives us the right picture of what needs to happen if you really want to retool ECG. And that's why I'm saying that there is the need for us to immediately engage on the broader details on some of these pronouncements that we have heard from government. Because if you say that there should be no layoff, I mean, what does that mean? Does it mean that whether the worker is efficient or not, he should still stay? Or does that mean that regardless of any circumstances, the concessionaire or the private partner that comes in should keep the staff? I think that doesn't explain the bigger issue. You rather have to put in place a framework that says that as far as the worker is working and is efficient at his work, he should stay. Okay. And I think that clarifies the issue, and that also gives us certain benchmark that the private entity should be measured, against, rather than a blanket statement to say that nobody should be fired. That will be an albatross on anybody's neck, any private entity's neck, just to keep people when, it is not efficient to do so.
Meanwhile, energy stakeholder Ishmael Jekumhene of the Kumasi Institute of Technology and Engineering on his part says the deal may not be able to be renegotiated as it has already been approved by Parliament.
The reassurances and the assurances probably is still not convincing enough. So I guess that's where the private, the pool who is coming from. But what the president didn't say yesterday, and I wish somebody asked him to clarify that, is whether or not the no job losses is still for a period, a moratorium of 5 years, or is for the entire duration of the concession. If it's for 5 years, then it's still the same as the previous administration managed to secure with the potential concessionaire. So I think that's where the apprehension is coming from, is to be expected from labor unions, but the private sector doesn't really care about just creating jobs, but they want to be profitable. I'm not sure there is a lot more room for renegotiation, but if there were to be some renegotiation, I think I sincerely believe that whoever is coming as a concessionaire wouldn't want to be working with people they don't need. I think what they need to negotiate is to ensure that no one is worse off. If they're going to be, ultimately, they're going to be severance, the packages should be good enough. But whether or not the concessionaire would want to work with a large labor force if they don't need that I'm not sure any concessionaire will be able to guarantee. We only need to make sure that workers' interests are protected. That's if they end up losing their jobs. But also, we need to make sure that whatever agreement we sign with the concessionaire, even on the side of the performance, we don't allow them to get away with any cheap deal, but we hold them to strict accountability and make sure they deliver, because the distribution sector certainly will have to get better than it is at the moment.
Moving on to some other stories tonight, the Trades Union Congress TUC is making a fresh case for government to regulate lending rates in the financial services sector to bring down the cost of borrowing for businesses. This is coming at a time when businesses continue to lament the impact of the high cost of credit on their operations. There's more in this report.
TUC, regulating lending rates is one of the best ways government can prove its commitment to empower the private sector in creating jobs in the economy. Analysts have, however, emphasized only market forces should determine the direction of lending rates. But the Secretary General of the TUC, Dr. Anthony Yaoban, says governments can directly and indirectly influence things.
There is nowhere in the world where only market forces determine rates.
So to what extent can government influence? Well, yes,
to a very great extent.
Yes, the T-bill rates, they can influence, but that's not the only factor, even though, yes...
Let me tell you, government is government. They use regulations and policies to achieve their goals, either directly or indirectly. Government can indirectly influence interest rates. If government decides that we are going to be fiscally disciplined according to the new law, and we are going to cap our borrowing, I can tell you, all those monies will be freed to the other private sector people to work with. So indirectly, government has a huge influence on interest rates in this country. If government wants to go the regulation way, they can say that, look, we think it's unfair that somebody deposits money with you and you pay the person a deposit rate of 10% and you charge 40% when you lend the money. It's not fair, so we are going to cap it. You can charge any interest rate you want, but the difference between deposit rates and interest rate should not be below 5 percentage points. You see, they will bring things down themselves.
Dr. Ba also challenged assertions that regulation of lending rates by government will be virtually impossible because of the free market nature of the economy.
This is a mixed economy, and there are regulations. Even in America and elsewhere where they have practiced free market for a long time, there are social interventions to make sure the market failures are addressed. If you want to go by this, you run an abnormal economy where interest rate is 70% and so on. In the non-financial institutions, do you know some are charging more than 100% interest rate? This is usury. This is not the way you manage an economy. Economies must be managed. When there is high inflation, something is done to check it. In the same manner, if there is high interest rate, government should do something to check it.
Latest data reveals that the average base rate charged by banks as at February was 26.9%, a drop of 0.7% from the figure recorded from the month of January.
You're watching Business Live. Time to take a short break. We'll be right back with our interview of the day.
Business Live today. Interview of the day.
Welcome back. We are going to be hearing from the Senior Minister, Yao Safumafo, who is saying that any program extension with the IMF will not affect the economy and government's policy direction.
do we really have to complete the program? That's the question you should ask. We are exaggerating this. The IMF has a 3-year extended program with the government starting April 2015, ending April 2018. We came and said we are continuing to the end of the program. The IMF itself supervised the deterioration of the indicators. How do you expect a deficit of 3% and you end up with 8.7 cash and 10.2 on commitment? So I told the IMF that they were poor supervisors, because most of the statements they issued after their visits to Ghana indicated that we were on the right path, but we were not. And therefore, you cannot try to meet all the indicators in 6 months. How?
And therefore, you think the program should be extended to December 2018?
No, we think that we should continue the program to the end, to April. If we see, in fact, there's no difference between April 2018, and please listen to this part very carefully. IMF programs are measured in budget cycles. Our next budget is in November 2017, written for end of December 2018. So that all 2018 budget will be under the supervision of IMF. And therefore, whatever is to be seen up to end of December, I don't see any problem with it. So extending the program to end of December or any in April 2018 is neither here nor there.
Much ado about nothing.
It's much ado about nothing. You are within that budget cycle.
Interview of the day.
Our website is up again, so you can check all the business stories at myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Darryl Carl. Thanks for making a date. We are back tomorrow.